Welcome. We're going to get started. Thank you for trekking it and for the center crew who got stuck in the mud. We are sending a prayer to Arthur that he gets out of the mud because he's still there. And we're thankful to Cheryl for getting us out of the mud and bringing us here. But we made it. And this is Potumtuk, where we were, was the Mount Hope Farm, which is also Pokanoket land. This is all Pokanoket land. But this is the site of several sites that will be the focus of our talk today. So I'm just going to get us started and I'll hand it off to start.
Matai, come on up on here. Uchi kinap Hello, I'm Pokanoket. I'm patient, ancestor of the Pokanoket tribe, and we welcome you to our ancestral homeland. Our people have lived here for more than 10,000 years before colonization. The Creator put my people here to care for this land. And I want to acknowledge my ancestors who did that. They lived in peace and harmony with everything on this land. And I would like to acknowledge the Pokanoket tribal people who today are still trying to restore balance to this land. Thank you for coming out on this beautiful day. But I want to say, every day the Creator gives you to walk on this earth is a beautiful day. Okay? We need the sun, we need the rain. Balance. Okay? So thank you for coming. We were asked, like he called Sagamore and myself and asked us if we could talk a little bit about our story, our journey, and not just to talk about it, but to talk about it on our land. And because of what Ray, Jennifer are doing for all of us, for all the Indigenous people, they're helping us. They're sharing of their knowledge with us. And so we told him, yes, we would share. And yes, we would welcome everyone to come onto our land. So we hope that what we share about our story is something that could be helpful to one of our brothers or sisters. Okay, because we're all here to help each other. We're here to help each other, not to hurt each other. So this is really important. And I expect that you come on our land in a good way. Okay. So with that, I would like to have Paul come up, and our people always open in prayer, no matter where we are, no matter what we do. So Harry Hawk, if you could just open us.
Yes, I'm Harry Hawk Edmonds, and I'm a sachem of the Pokanoket Tribal Nation on Anawan's line. I want to welcome you here to the land of the Pokanoket. As you probably know, our people offered sacred tobacco to give thanks to the Great Spirit, the Creator, for the many blessings that He bestows upon us each and every day. And this is a special blessing that we're doing here today. So I'd like to offer this sacred tobacco prayer in the language of my people. The language that we were deprived from speaking after the King Philip's War of 1675-1676. My ancestors had to assimilate and adopt the ways of the settlers in order to survive. So their way of life was taken from them. But we're still here. So I will offer this sacred tobacco prayer in the Algonquin language Although we spoke many different dialects, our people were able to understand and communicate with one another. This sacred tobacco offering is all about honor and respect, which is the indigenous people's way. We honored everything, especially Mother Earth. That's where we came from, and that's where we're all going back to. She offers us everything to survive. I will also offer this sacred tobacco prayer in the English language, so you've understood what I've said. It's called Nepitan, I pray. I will begin. Katantawit, Numagni, O Wikamal. Aki Numagni, O Wikamal. Okamas. Nupashad, Numagni, O Wikamal. Awuchi, Kiriasin, Nukawas, Numagni, O Wikamal. Kabati Yanway. Numagni, Wikamal, Bordu, Nashikaki. Wampanayu, Sowanayu, Patanayu, Nanamayu, Kabatianawayan, the Wachi Wami, Nitam Fog, Neg, Harmonina Trade, Neg, Amapachi, Papanasi Mog, Metacomet Wash Marty Posh, Namosog, Aquitianum, we chi Ninache. Mas, Makwashin, Tunapasag, Sastaso, Budagach, Katantawit, a Numagni, a with the mall. A great spirit, I offer this tobacco. Mother Earth, I offer this tobacco. Grandmother Moon, I offer this tobacco. Grandfather's son, I offer this tobacco. I thank you. I offer this tobacco to the four directions, to the east, to the south, to the west, to the north. I thank you for all my relations, the winged nation, the creeping, crawling nation, the four-legged nation, the green and growing nation, and all things living in the water. Honoring the clans, the deer, the bear, the wolf, the turtle, the snipe, and the rabbit. Great spirit, I offer this tobacco. Oh, the habitat. Let's enjoy this beautiful day. One thing more I'd like to leave you with, folks. My ancestor was a war chief for the Massasoit Osamequin, Yellow Feather. He was a general. He was a five-star general. Five-star general. His name was Anawan. When Anawan was fighting against the settlers to save the land and preserve our way of life, he was heard to cry out in battle, Ayutash! Ayutash! Stand firm and fight! Ayutash! I want to leave that with you folks today. Ayutash! Ayutash! Stand firm! Fight! Don't give up. Oh. Woo!
Akuni. My name is Mitakisu Mikinaka. It means strong, thorough, strength and wisdom in my people's language. I hold part of the memory of our people, of our historians. And while I welcome you here today to come talk at Sowams, you must remember the memory of what was here. As our statesman said before, our people were here for thousands of years. and not in the way you think. You look at this place today with these trees, we must get away from the perpetual societal stereotypes of indigenous people. This is our land. We cultivated. These are second and third generation trees. This place was blooming with life. There were families here. And when you think about Sowams of our land, which stretch from Barrington, Bristol, Warren, Peacock, Swansea, Rehoboth, all the way to Monterey, Providence, we have to think of this as a nation, individual. Our life and our culture is here. My ancestors were born on the ground where we stand today. And that history for over 200 years has been trodden on in an attempt to erase the Potumtuk people from popular memory. The conquest has two phases. There's a physical conquest, and then there's a psychological conquest to take the people's names from them. And our resistance has been holding on to our name, despite hundreds of years of occupation, colonization, and marginalization. The Potumtuk people have been here hiding in the same site. We look at Potumtuk, which is what we know as Lookout Mountain. That's the seat of our people, the nexus of our heritage. This was the place where our Massasoit, which is named for great leader, it's equivalent to what you say is king, came, and he would be free with all the sachems from the Cape down to the Providence River. What the law of the land would be. And indeed, when the settlers did came here after the Great Dying, they came on our land. They built Plymouth on the bones of people who were already passed because of a disease that our people did not understand. And because of Osamequin's word and his great faith, he called down his sachems, or what the English called in September 13th, 1621, the instruments of submission, where according to their history, our sachems submitted to them. And how could our sachems submit to 40 people and the King of England? Well, our sachems submitted to them under good friendship. But from our perspective, Osamequin in good faith said that no one will touch these people so long as I live. And he kept that peace, even when the settlers did not, for 40 years. He kept that peace, knowing that even before the English came, that we know that in the 16th century, Giovanni Versano, when he came here under King Francis I, he came to Pokanoket territory. We were coastal people. And he said this place was gleaming with people. It was populated. This was not an empty wilderness. When the settlers came back in 1614, we had people under what we hear the famous John Smith. One of his deputies, Thomas Hunt, started to enslave our people. And still, in good faith, he allowed them to stay here. In good faith. In 1623, you can argue that the future of what would become the United States of America was up again because Osamequin was sick. And he was sick, and the people in Plymouth were worried because they recognized that this was the people that protected them. And so they sent John Hampton and Edward Winslow on a mission to Pokanoket. And we can't, the first wave could not foresee that they would become the hegemon on this land. They had their information down accurately because to mistake the boundaries, mistake the leaders, their name going to cost them their life. So they knew they had to come to Pokanoket to see Massasoit Osamequin to ensure that their settlement would still be safe. And when they heard, and they followed the trail, because they were way down, there were bones on the trail. Our people were decimated by the plague that came upon our land. It was a dark time for us. And already on the way there, when they came with their Painisi wars who died in Hopama, people were crying, saying that the Massasoit has passed away. We will never see the likes of him again. But he didn't pass away, he was sick. And funny, he asked us if he was fine. And Winslow and Hampton, in good faith, stayed with him throughout the duration of his sickness. And when Osamequin saw it, he said, I know these people love me. And he warned them of an impending attack and set this foundation for friendship between two people of only the next generation could have learned to live in harmony. What a different story we would have had. But in the times of their sons, they forgot the kindness that Osamequin and Pokanoket people settled for them. When Osamequin died in 1661, his son, Wauipi, the designated heir, was taken prisoner right down in East Providence by Josiah Winslow at gunpoint because they feared him. They feared the idea that you could have a young leader who would rally people. Our new Massasoit Wauipi, just defeated the Mogigans under Uncas, who attacked the Quabog Nipmucks who were under our people. He said, "You do not belong here." And the colonists feared that there would be a strong leader. So they took him captive, and he died in their captivity. And so his younger brother, who was not the acknowledged heir, Massasoit Metacomet, at 25 years old, had to become the leader of our people and resist the insatiable appetite of the English to ask for more land. But he never gave up Pokanoket. What we know is this man's name. He would never part with it. He would never part with historical Sowams, which was the birthright of our people. Here we talk about Sowams and Lookout Mountain. Our people have three sacred mountains. Mount Potumtuk, which is right here, Wauipi, which is in Massachusetts, and Magna up in New Hampshire, the past, present, and future. And as we come down here, our three sisters and the great creator gave us the gift of corn, beef, and squash. It taught our people how to farm and how to sustain life. And our people asked the great creator to show us a sign. Those three messengers turned the stone and cheered by the coast. This was the birthright of our people. When we talk about our waffle belt, which wasn't a design, but every generation of leaders added on and told the history of our people, our sorrows, our accomplishments, our legends. Every generation added on to this belt. The waffle belt will be brought to be read right up that path right there for the people. He will not part from this land. And eventually, he was forced to fight for it in what history calls the King Philip's War. And not 5 miles down from the Maori Swamp, where he was killed. Alas, by some of his own people who lost faith. Native named Alderman, who came with an expedition from Benjamin Church. He was shot in the back and through the heart. And they desecrated and mutilated his body, chopped him up and poured him and sent him to the 4 directions so the people could see that their leader was dead. They put his head on a spike and killed him colony for 40 years, a generation, so that the survivors would know. And to intimidate them and say that you can no longer be here. His son, Neimpaug, was going to be killed for through the intervention of 2 religious men in Jamestown. He was decided to be sold with his mother into slavery to Bermuda. But for many of our people who survived the turn to the war were not fortunate. Many of the men who were sent to Potumtuk, all you have to say is, you fought for Philip, so Potumtuk, they would be killed, and then he would take their land. Those who were captive were sold into slavery into Bermuda. We know this not from our own word, but from the English's own archives. We know that John Winthrop had a correspondence with the governor of Bermuda. In Barbados. He had a son, Henry Winthrop, who lived there. He sold many of our people, so many people that in 1676, the governor Winthrop signed a petition saying, stop sending Pokanoket people over here because he feared a revolt would happen. Those of us who were sold in slavery into the Caribbean, or the Azores, or the Spice Islands, or Barbados and Spain, those of us who stayed were given the title of indentured servants, our women, our children, our elders, and were placed under the servitude of English families, where they would have to speak English, go to their churches, speak their language, dress like them, but never be one of them. Philip relations who stayed here were sold off and removed from the land to the Shintucket Reservation, which is in Connecticut. What we know is Sowams was depopulated because if there's no people, then they can't claim the land, so they depopulated the land and removed our people and scattered to the 4 directions. So in the Shintucket Reservation, our people stayed under the oppression of our enemies. But we never forgot who we were. The words that I tell you, the words that people are telling you today were passed on generation from generation, from mother and father to their sons and daughters at great peril. We forget sometimes, until very recently, it wasn't a popular thing to say you were indigenous. It wasn't a loving and kind movement as it is today. Our story hasn't changed, but people are listening now. Our story isn't a happy story. But we hear, when I was told as a child, that our women would be raped and they would jump off the falls at the end of Keyfield War. It wasn't a happy story. When our old men were killed, it wasn't a happy story. When stones were thrown at my great-grandmother and my great-great-grandmother for their saying they were Pokanoket. But we carry these generational stories because we will not be replaced. We will not have others tell our history for us. And from the Shintucket Reservation, we went to Bristol, Connecticut. You might have heard about a native Simeon Simons. He would say that he comes from the house of 7 Crescents at Pokanoket. And he was George Washington's bodyguard. And he knew who his name was. He would come back, his descendants would come back here to what we call Rhode Island. And we are still here for Pokanoket. When you hear about Princess Redwing, her mother was Pokanoket. When you see her right in her insignia, the House of 7 Crescents, that's our line hiding in plain sight. She was the first indigenous people to speak in front of the United Nations. 1946, that's right. We talk about Governor John Green, Indigenous Peoples Day. He was talking about our family hiding in plain sight because we couldn't use our name, because it wasn't recognized by the institution that are descendants from the people who removed us from the land. And who are they to tell us who we are? And so here we stand today in Sowams, at Potumtuk, at the seat of the Massasoit. Not too long ago, at Birdstone Hill in Bristol, Warren, they dug up another grave, an indigenous grave, and they found on that grave individual with a red horseman shirt with bronze beads. This was Massasoit Osamequin. But did they tell us? No, it was another trophy. Our people and our ancestors do not need to be disturbed. This land has been disrespected and used for generations and hundreds of years. But I asked some of my elders that came before me saying, Lutash, we are still here and we will stand firm. And as long as the Pokanoket people still remember who we are, as long as my children still know and they still say they're Pokanoket, as long as my cousins still know and come out for our strawberry Como as we come for a seat, as long as our people never allow our colonizers to tell us who we are, we will always still be here. Aho.
Oh! Ayuta! Well, I'm not going to welcome you because we're already going to welcome about 2 minutes. I am going to tell you that you're on the land of the Pokanoket, where Massasoit, Metacomet was killed, body was slaughtered. Said this is the Potumtuk. One time there was 75 to 100 mil feet on the top of the mountain. If we went to the highest point in Rhode Island, we just stand at smoke, which means look out the country right there now, and two systems in Massachusetts, and then up to Monadnock, up in New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire, and that's where you found the King full of prayer. Our territory went all the way up to New York State, down to the falls, the side of the Hudson River. That's where Metacomet was with Penobscot, the chief of the Narragansetts, planning for his during the winter campaign to come back down here. That Kinship War is the costliest war to this day on the United States soil to capital people. Metacomet and Kinship are the same person. I could tell you why you have the name Philip and why one fellow had the name Alexander. They petitioned the Philip, the English name, and the English gave them Greek names. The English believed that the Greeks were heathen, and they believed that the Indians were heathen, and so they named them Alex, then the Great, and Philip of Macedonia. This is what was passed on to us in our family. That flag of Massachusetts with the sword over that Indian's head is supposed to be the Massasoit, and that is something also that we were told as a kid coming up
You stay in your place or we'll take your head off just like you did Kenneth. They executed our chiefs, and that was their MO. They took their heads off. They took Wienerman's head off. He was a small section of the Picasso tribe. They took Tutussa's head off. He was the chief of the Massasoit tribe over here in Lakeville. He was married to King Philip's sister, Anna Amy. They took Anawan's head off. Anawan was in his 80s when they killed him. They called Church up to Boston, and he wasn't supposed to be killed. They killed him. While Church went up to Boston, they executed him. They took his head off with the Tutussac. All right. He was the head Polynesian warrior for Osamequin, who was his brother-in-law. He was married to the Massasoit's sister. All right. But Anawan had to. Okay. Don't let me.
I'm sorry, I know it's raining in your back, and our historian.
Well, anyway, we're on this land. We've been after this land for quite a while. Since the early 1990s, we've had Thanksgiving here one year, the following year. They would have us host a meeting out of policy. We would sign waivers in order to come on the property to do our spiritual ceremonies here. But what, I mean, the things that went on for years, it was crazy. It wasn't until the director of the Mount Hope Farm was an advocate for it, and we were able to stop coming on this property without being interfered with the electric. So basically, we've been on this spot. I named some because I can't remember all this stuff. It's been a while though. In 1999, during the Almond, Governor Almond's chairman as governor, we approached him for this land again. We approached Potumtuk, Snow, and Han, and we negotiated with them. It got to the point where we were negotiating, they were dictating. And they would do this, they would do that, but we had to give up all our indigenous rights. And we told them, oh, no, we're not going to give up any rights. You people are negotiating, we dictate. We'll agree to take the negotiation. So we called up the negotiation. That was that administration. During Gina, one of this administration, we met with their it's always been a denial by delay. That's what they do. They call it the need of justice. I call it denial by delay. So it just got to the point where we weren't going anywhere with the policy debate, and we decided that we were going to take an approach on different sides of a different manner, and we formed a pump. In Ufana, we've learned quite a few things, but we discovered that there's a process that we have to go through. And one of the things that we had to do was make things right according to their rules to get our rights. And so we began the process of reclaiming our land, repatriating our land, making constructive and public notices of our tribal front, where we taking the land back into our person, so we don't need you to tell us that this land belongs to us. We'll make our own things. We formed our foreign corporation. We formed our commerce. We just kept all that, and in 2015, that's what we did, United Nations. And we tried to get on the agenda there, and we were stalled in that minute. I got to the point where I was sort of discussing being a superior chief of farming. You're going to have to forgive me. I'm up there in age. I don't remember every day I'm going to say it. But they got to the point where I told them, two Hawks, who was our director general farm, that, I'm not going to go to the United Nations anymore because we can't get on their speaking platform. So we discovered there's a process for that in order to go and have a speaking. At the United Nations, there's a process, you have to go through everything. And so basically, we started doing presentations up there at the innovations for the census bureau. I forget what the other ones we did. Do a sci-fi presentation, and we found out that they were watching it when we do it. When you go back the following year, and they were doing what they were trying to do. We were already doing. But basically, when we got to the point where we said, well, we need to get on the speaker out there because these people are stealing our ideas, and they're doing what they're trying to do what we've already done. And so we started, we got to the point where we started making these treaties with different nations. And one of them we heard today, the Prime Minister of Africa, right? We dealing with the Kingdom of Hawaii, the Free Kingdom Nation, Upper Canada. We started dealing nation to nation. We said, well, we're going to take the focus here, the United States as a nation. And so basically, we started, after we did that here, I guess in 2017, and we're still getting run around as far as lands concerned. So we planning a father, we got a grant to do an action camp of how to focus. And so that's not really when this government started taking notice. This government started taking notice when we start all of our focus and constructive notices, right? Because you would give them 30 days to respond, but they would never respond. One of the statements that was, let me say, I put in today's terminology. If you don't answer this within 30 days, then that's you're agreeing that everything that we said and you said is true. But everyone answer. And so we go to the health department. We go to Social Security, and we would talk to these people. They say, yeah, you're right. Well, what if you get that information? And then they would go to a higher authority. Like, we're dealing with the answer to these things. And we would never get the information that they said they were going to do this. So basically, he said, well, gee, we got to do something about this here. And we had this action plan. And we came out with this property in 2017. And there were tents all around here. And different tribes from different nations came down here. And we were here for about from August to September. It was a month, I believe it was. And it was getting ready time for Brown University to start coming back on campus. Well, like I said, they thought that we were going to get off the property. Before we got on the property, we at the police department with notices telling us we didn't have any right to agree with us because we are coming out and we didn't have any authority with us. We are never coming to the state police. We had our own march each. I do have a march here, and they're over your state police. And but they didn't bother. But people were nervous because when you're doing this here, we had elevators going up to the trees. I mean, the things that they wanted to this action camp, how to do a protest, and we did it peacefully. And when we started rolling in the RVs here, that's when Brown decided they were going to, come to tours so we can get another agreement. But then that was back in 2017, and we are still dealing with this here at this time. So basically, COVID sort of put a hamper on things, because we get into, negotiations and so on, and COVID sort of put a hamper on things. So we're in the process now of, going back to the business. But that is why I would like to thank Ray and Paino, because now we have an avenue to take and actually go after these people through the Center for Indigenous People's Rights. And basically, this is what we were seeking all along. And so that's why we're here today. Because these two gentlemen who took the initiative and part themselves to go to law school and determine what we're going to take and study indigenous law. And that's what we've done. I mean, we've done some things that are unprecedented, and one of the things that has happened to our international ambassadors is we even had an audience with the king when he was starting. All right, 30 minutes. You know what you're talking about? fun. They know all about what they do. But anyway, I'm sorry. Let me deal with this. But anyway, I want to thank you all for coming here. And, once again, welcome to the land. Sorry. They don't let me talk.
Next way, Tony Palmerstown, East Chinahas. Next way, Potumtuk Nipane, Police. Good afternoon. My name is She Walks with the Wind, and this is Submarine, Sleeping. I'm going to read a poem that was written by my aunt, Elsie Sunflower Morrison. It is called Why You Don't Know Me. When you arrived, my people were happy and free. We lived in a place where there was little competition, and for food, there was no tea. You came along, you were welcome, but you decided your land is for me. Unable to see, you would have been dead were it not for me. A people who roamed their land, living one with the earth, forced to retreat. Our interactions became deadly as we met the hand we breathed. In your attempt to threaten me, you hung the Massasoit's head on a pole for all to see. Into the shadows, moving only when needed, when need be, a people further retreat. In your attempt to erase me, we were declared dead and erased from your history. Your laurels made our existence an untold history. Outlawed was the word Pokanoket, death to those claiming their ancestry. Sisters and brothers separated by land and deeds. Only those who agreed to give up their land to citizens, they do. Now you have sent those who stole from me to investigate what's left of me. We had been saying, we are still here for hundreds of years, walking while blindfolded, haunted by your own fears. You cannot hear the sound of my tears. Stripped of our culture, into the shadows, your mission complete. We are now wrapped in your cloak of invisibility. And that's why you don't. Thank you.
Woo!
All right, thank you all for coming. I just want to clarify one thing, or just kind of string some thoughts together on the legal aspect here of what the Sagamore was explaining. And I think we heard a little bit about it for folks who heard the panels this morning, especially my friend Andy Reid here, who was great this morning. Sometimes you just got to do it. Don't wait for them to tell you. Don't ask. Just do it. This is their land. They came here and occupied it. They just did it. They tried to do due diligence and be diplomatic. But as Sagamore said, when there's no response, you just got to do it. And then you come from behind and deal with it legally. And so, as the Prime Minister said to the President Macron when he came into office in France, was like, we may lose in court, but we'll win in the public. And that's what happened here. Brown University has no incentive to listen to some Indians who they don't think exist. But when we made Fox News, Ray was on Fox News with Tucker Carlson of all people, they love to bash liberal institutions. And all press is good press. And that was great press. And then the Brown University calls the Sagamore, and then we penned a commitment in 2017. So you can Google this. It is a commitment to transfer this land. Now, when that happens, that would be the largest land transfer to a non-federally recognized tribe by a private institution right here in Rhode Island. So we are super proud. There's only so much we can say because, like the Sagamore said, it is active, the negotiation process, and we are dealing in good faith. So we just wanted to add that little bit of context. Thank you to the Pokanoket family for bringing us here and close us out.
I just want to tell you one little story because that kid that when I was a kid, I go back to the 1940s. People around the Broadway Desert, which was the prototype for the house in Rock and I was out there always playing with my friends and I was bragging to them who I was. I'm the director of the Massasoit. That's my great grandfather. I schooled in the house. The parents told me, you'll never tell me what. I put the guitar where I was and feared for my life in the 40s. As a kid, my mother's first cousin, that knew downtown Providence, he was the chief before me. She was a recognized by the Council of Chiefs in New England as a small center in Pokanoket. He was never finished until 1968 when they inducted her into the Rhode Island Heritage Hall of Fame. And she put right on it. She didn't recognize her. She's also an Arabic. All she recognized that she was Royal Heritage House of Seven President, Pokanoket. That's what Governor Pilgrims for Gary has on that proclamation, which named June 23rd, 1978, as Prince's Residence Day in the state of
Thank you, Sagamore.
Thank you, that's the story.
All right, friends.
Thank you.
We are here. We are done.
Thank you.
As much as you can tolerate, we have about 10-ish minutes. If you want to walk around and just kind of feel the energy, then we'll get on the bus. You ready?
Chief, if anyone wants to take a walk up to the seat of the Massasoit, we got 10 minutes. I'll walk them up there and then we'll come back to the bus.
No.
Are you going to take this?
I just rode all the way to the
I know.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
All right, let's do it.
I'm doing a story about what they were talking about. Mountains was 7,500 feet higher. The reason it isn't higher is because they put a missile down in there. So they chopped it down and put a missile base in there. We put the missile down. That's what I'm doing. Oh, what's up? Oh, this is on my hope. Oh.
We'll go, we'll go over.
Because really, it's how much is on what now do we stuff and there's going to be the touch going on. It's not. It's something from yeah, you definitely. Yeah, so something so it's like really really really. I was just like that, so I clicked on it and I'm like, so then I just like went into like just into this is like looking up a bunch of stuff. I read his legal framework that he did and he was something on my field. Yeah. I went to the symposium of last year. And I got a little bit of knowledge then. I started looking at my ancestry. Yeah. I started finding sentences from the I just get so motivated. And I started yeah. It led you right back to right for something. It's just like and also ways in the husband. What I mean? It sounds like you already
Is everyone? So, thanks everyone for taking the time to step on up. And what you're seeing right now is the land is what it is and not what it was or what it should be. It's currently still under the stewardship of Brown University, though they still allow us to come here from time to time. We have to pick up trash. We have to clean up the seat, beer bottles, cans, and really when we come up here, this is at the very summit, and our people would have council. And I'm not just talking about our people, you know, the indigenous people, suddenly we were connected. So when we talk about council members, the news that happened here went all the way up to Maine and New Hampshire, right here at this spot. And if you climb up to the top, this is the very bottom. You have to understand that this used to be one of the highest elevations in Rhode Island. If you go around climbing to the top and you get to the top, you can see the Nike missile site where they elevated the land to go up nearly 100 feet, and the debris is still over there. But they used to say, at least my oldest would tell me, on a good day, on a clear day, even when you get to the top of the summit, you can see Mount Wauipi in Massachusetts. And from there, you can see Mount Manassas. They have Lookout Mountain, past, present, and future. Our people's boundaries can be seen. And even these rocks over here were put there by Brown University, not by us. And even the land we're seeing, we're looking at third, second generation trees, invasive species. As I said before, this whole area wasn't cleared. You know, this would have been a summit where you could have been able to see the coast. You would have had maize, corn, and squash all around this entire area. It would have been the nexus of everything we have here. It would have been, you know, there would have been resources and settlements from the horizon over. Talk about European explorers that came here. Daniel Bookins said that the Pokanoket people in its history of New England Indians said that we had 3,000 warriors here. So if you do the math there, that means that this land right here has tens of thousands of people. And when you talk about what makes a land or what makes a place like Sowams so beautiful, the land's not just beautiful. I mean, if you ever go to Rehoboth or Swansea or Seacon, if you notice over there, there's underground water springs. And when I was a kid, it used to run clearly, but now it barely shows anymore. The land's hurting. And as we have all these water springs here in Sowams, the town of Bristol Warren still use indigenous water springs for use. You talk about the fertile soil from crops, the marine wildlife, and game. This was a rich and bountiful place in sought after territory. And so something that we have to remember that higher people lived here, ancestors, like their spirit is still here. And how again, for centuries, our just didn't have the right to come here. We have a Painisi, we have the initiation of our Painisi, which is very different from what it used to be 400 years ago. People are intentionally, they used to leave you in the woods for like half a year. It was like the Green Berets. Because the Painisi were supposed to be our warriors, our top council members. But we come up here, we have to ask the ground for permission first. We have our renewal of the covenant ceremony where our young children come up to make a covenant before the Creator. We have to ask the ground that if they can even bring a boat here so they can show up in the sky and use that covenant of the children to go trace the arrow. You know, when we talk about this idea of the sea that our people were banished from coming here, and that even going back into the 1800s, you have records in our bands of groups of indigenous people coming around Seoul. But you understand that people here, there's actually our archaeologists found a stone mill. We were corn and we were ground maize, because this was the nexus of everything we are. We even look at the people today, it wouldn't be the way it was. This is where our Massasoits would hold court. You know, even in Metacom's time, because we were in English for a generation, we learned the degree of their language. You had scribes like John Sesame who would reread deeds or rewrite them. And so you understand that the buildings would be around here. You would hear the smell of the incense that the warriors had lined up. This would be the entrance to an official territory, that this place was a seat of authority. And you couldn't come here with a lackluster attitude. You had to be invited. And it wasn't until under the force of arms of Benjamin Church in 1676 that the English were able to come here uninvited under arms. Until then, they couldn't get close without permission. And that's why we look at the town of Bristol. Bristol didn't become a charter for a community until after King Philip's War in 1676. Prior to this, no English colonizers could get close to this area because they were not welcome here. This is exclusively our land, our territory. And it's one thing just to think about. I don't want to take up too much time. I know you got a bus to catch. But when you look at the land and the people and the memory of the land, you have to understand what we're playing for. We're not just, when we talk about indigenous rights, we're not playing for land. We talk about the memory of our people, that the Pokanoket people, this is our homeland. I review any notion that indigenous people were on our reservation. This whole country was ours. And we need to fight that mindset that indigenous people need to be on reservations. No, indigenous people need to fight for their land. When you talk about the Pokanoket people, our land is right here. This is what we're going to continue to fight for. This is where our ancestors are going to be. And like past, present, future, this is where our future is going to be as well. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Dr. Palumbo has informed me that the first bus has arrived, so we'll start making our way back. But for those who are unaware, behind me is the seat of the Massasoit, where the Massasoit would have sat to make his decrees and decide what would and would not happen. If I'm not mistaken, this is where he was approached by the Pilgrims with an interest in signing a treaty. They didn't sign it here, but I believe they sent emissaries here. This is where King Philip would have been when they decided to wage war to protect the land. So, in my opinion, this seat right here and this land here is fundamental to the United States as we know it today. I'm very honored that you all here to pay homage to it and to have this be a part of your journey now as well. On behalf of the Center for Indigenous Peoples' Rights, we want to thank our Pokanoket family for welcoming us here. Our Latin American family for coming here to be a part of this as well, and everyone who's here for the Center's annual gathering. And Creator willing, we'll see you all potentially next year at next year's annual gathering as well.
Thank you very much. Oh, we have home.
Yeah, we had a